On Friday the 13th, in the year 1307, an army of knights disappeared. A powerful group arrested overnight. But their legendary treasure, a huge fortune of gold and silver, was never found. What really happened to the Knights Templar and their lost treasure? This is the story of the mystery that has lasted for over 700 years. The Templars were more than just knights. They were warrior monks. This means they were both soldiers and religious men. The order began around the year 1119. Their job was to protect people traveling to the Holy Land. These roads were very dangerous, so the Templars built strong castles along the way. Soon, they became famous for being brave and trustworthy. But they were also smart with money. Imagine you are a rich person in London and need to travel to Jerusalem. Carrying all your gold is very risky. The Templars had an idea. You could leave your gold with them in London. They gave you a special paper, a secret note. When you arrived in Jerusalem, you showed this note to the Templars there. They would then give you the same amount of gold. This was like the world's first international banking system. Because of this, the Templars became incredibly rich and powerful. They owned land, farms, and ships all across Europe. Everyone, from poor farmers to powerful kings, trusted them with their money. But being this rich and powerful creates enemies. And their biggest enemy was the King of France, Philip IV. King Philip was in big trouble. He had spent too much money on wars and owed a huge debt. A lot of that debt was to the Knights Templar. He saw their wealth not as something to borrow, but as something to take. So he made a dark and secret plan. On a cold October morning, Friday the 13th, the trap was sprung. King Philip's soldiers moved across France in secret. At dawn, they arrested every Templar they could find. They were taken from their beds, from their prayers, and thrown into dungeons. The king accused them of terrible crimes. He said they spat on the cross, worshipped false idols, and committed many other sins. These charges were designed to shock people and turn them against the knights who were once seen as heroes. The arrests were sudden, brutal, and perfectly coordinated. The Templar order, which had stood for almost 200 years, was broken in a single day. But when the king's men went to the Templar headquarters in Paris, they found a surprise. They expected to find mountains of gold, silver, and jewels. But the vaults were almost empty. The great treasure of the Templars was gone. It had vanished. Where did it go? Did someone warn the Templars? Did they move their treasure just in time? This is where the real mystery begins. The treasure was not just gold. It included their important documents, land deeds, and financial records. Everything that proved their wealth and power had disappeared without a trace. So what happened to the treasure? Over the centuries, many stories and legends have appeared. Some people believe that on the night before the arrests, Templar knights loaded their treasure onto wagons. These wagons secretly left Paris under the cover of darkness. One story says the wagons went to a port on the French coast. There, the treasure was loaded onto the Templar fleet, their powerful collection of ships, and it sailed away, never to be seen again. Where did it sail to? Some say Scotland, others say Portugal, or even across the ocean to America, long before Columbus. Let's separate the myths from the facts. Fact: the Knights Templar were very wealthy. That is true. We have historical records that show their land ownership and financial power. Fact: King Philip of France arrested them and took their property in France. That is also true. The arrests on Friday the 13th, 1307, are a well-documented historical event. Now for the myth. Myth: they had a giant treasure of gold and jewels hidden in one place. The truth is probably more complex. The Templars' wealth wasn't like a pirate's chest full of gold coins. Most of their wealth was in land, castles, and the money they were owed by others. Think of it like a modern bank. A bank doesn't keep all its money in cash in a single vault. It's invested and spread out. So the idea of one single lost treasure is probably a legend. But the legends don't stop with gold. The most famous story connects the Templars to the Holy Grail. The Grail is said to be the cup that Jesus used at the Last Supper. It is supposed to have miraculous powers. According to legend, the Templars found the Grail during their time in the Holy Land and became its secret guardians. This story says that the Grail was the real treasure they saved from King Philip. It wasn't gold they were hiding, but a sacred object of immense power. There is no historical proof for this. No Templar document ever mentions the Grail, but it's a powerful and romantic story that has captured imaginations for centuries, linking the brave knights to one of the greatest legends of all time. Other stories say the Templars protected other secret items. Some say they had ancient scrolls with hidden knowledge. Knowledge that could challenge the authority of kings and even the church. Perhaps they knew secrets about the history of religion or science that the world was not ready for. In these stories, the treasure wasn't wealth, but information. Information so powerful that people would kill for it. This idea paints the Templars not just as bankers or soldiers, but as protectors of a hidden truth. So let's think about a final twist. What if the treasure was never gold or a holy cup? What if the treasure was something else entirely? Consider this. The Templars ran a huge network across all of Europe. They had power, they had influence, and they had secrets. They knew which kings owed money, which nobles were in trouble, and which merchants were trustworthy. This knowledge was their real power. Maybe the true treasure that vanished was not a physical object, but the order itself. The surviving knights, blending into new lives, carrying their knowledge with them. Perhaps they created new secret societies, continuing their traditions in the shadows. This idea suggests that the Templar spirit never truly died. It just changed form. The real treasure was their organization, their network of loyal people, and the secrets they kept. That kind of treasure cannot be seized by a king or melted down like gold. It can live on for centuries. So after all this time, a mystery remains. Did the Templars hide a vast fortune of gold that is still waiting to be found somewhere in the world? Or did they protect something far more valuable like the Holy Grail or a world-changing secret? Or was the real treasure simply the power and knowledge they held? We may never know for sure. The story of the Knights Templar teaches us that some secrets are kept forever, and the greatest treasures are not always made of gold. What do you think? Was the treasure real gold and jewels, or was it something else? Let me know your theory in the comments. Thanks for watching.